If you were to Google ADHD and then like check out like what patterns show, I feel like most of the stuff that I do is over there. Just inattentiveness. Sometimes I'd rather use my phone while listening to lectures because it feels like my eyes can't stay in one place, but my ears can stay in one place. So while I have my eyes be able to focus on one thing, my ears can focus on another.
Even if I am doing something, I just will like zone out, stare at nothing, and then I'll like hopefully get back to what I was doing previously.
The big one that I know, like other people notice, is like pattern recognition. Watching TV shows with me isn't really fun because I call out all the twists.
When I'm watching movies with people, I can already see like the twist that's coming, and people are like, "How did you see that?" Or "Why did you ruin the movie?"
I would have certain ways how I sit down or how I stand up straight. When I'm walking, my hands are going everywhere or they're just stuck in like a T-Rex position.
It's very hard sometimes to stay focused, even when it's stuff that I want to do, like cleaning the house. It's really hard sometimes to like get up and do it. It's not that I don't want to, 'cause I do. It's just like a blockade almost. My brain's like, nah, that's boring.
Talking with no eye contact was so consistent, but nowadays I can talk to someone with eye contact, but sometimes, I regress.
I would talk out loud and I didn't know, and my classmates thought it was weird because they said, "Oh my god, you're talking to yourself." They didn't even know that slipped out, and many times that got me into trouble.
I was playing in my house, and then my mom was like, "What the hell is going on?" She called me, and then she asked a question, and then I didn't answer. And then she was like, "Is there something going on with my kid here?" But then a few minutes later, while she was like contemplating like what's going on, I answered the question. We finally went to a therapist, and I was diagnosed with ADHD at like age 6.
I went in for a general checkup, and then the doctor was like, "Hey, you want to take a test with me?" And I said, "Sure." They asked me a couple of questions, and then they're like, "Yeah, you're weird." I was diagnosed when I was like 11 with ADD, if that's what you kids are calling it these days.
I think I have always known that my brain works differently because even in kindergarten, I've always been known to disassociate. I actually went to an institution for like mental health, and I was like trying to get that. Unfortunately, after a few meetups, a few sessions, and a lot of expenses for the fare that I paid for to get there, what they said to me is, "Oh, this institution is to get medicine, not to diagnose that." So that's wasted time. I have taken a lot of like all of the quizzes I can find about it, and I even after I took the test, I even gave the test to friends for them to answer it in the perspective of them watching me, and the answers are consistent that I have a high chance of having it.
But even like then to now, I still don't fully see how it's different to an extent. Everybody I meet has a different thought process. You got some people that learn by hearing it, some people by doing it hands on, some people learn slow, some people learn fast. So with all those, I don't really know what's considered a normal brain and how mine differs from that.
My earliest memories of being seen as like other were when I was being homeschooled by my mom. She'd get like frustrated with me. Math problems that would usually take maybe some other kid my age, maybe like 20 minutes tops, take me about an hour to complete, just like at the most 2 questions. Like she got pissed off enough that she was like, "Okay, something's wrong with you," essentially. And she started doing like research to try and figure out what was wrong with me. Or she came to the conclusion that I probably had ADHD. And I didn't really get diagnosed until I was like, I want to say 17, like officially. The process was just trying to do some math problems and some other things like memory and stuff. The specialist was like, "Yep, she's got that shit. Good luck, guys." And I was like, "Okay, well, I mean, I already knew that, but it was nice to like actually have like a piece of paper that said it." So
Today, I think any day where it's emotional. Another thing about ADHD is we definitely seek dopamine. Whenever a stressful day comes around, it can get very bad because you really don't want to deal with it, or you're all over the place.
We have this inter-college contest. All three of us, me and two other friends, agreed that we're all going to go join. But then one of my friends messaged me and said, I'm so sorry. He canceled last minute. I do not like when plans are suddenly canceled. I asked, like, why didn't you just tell this to me yesterday if you really don't want to? My friend said, like, oh, I didn't want to bother you. In and itself, already messed up how I was thinking, and I literally couldn't even focus on my contest that I was supposed to be preparing for. I literally like had a mental breakdown that night, and like I couldn't even sleep. Whenever I plan something, like that I am set on doing the thing, I felt like if he really didn't want to, he could have just said it up front instead of backing out last minute.
I remember that the TV was on, people were talking, and then someone was also trying to talk to me while the TV was on, and all of that combined kind of made me shut down. Like, I had to get out of there. A more solid moment, me and my boyfriend and some of his friends, we went to a bar. I was already tired, and then it was just really loud and overwhelming, and it got to the point where I just wanted to cry. But luckily I had like some noise canceling earbuds, so I just sort of listened to music and it drowned everything out, and I felt a lot more calm.
Definitely the inability to focus when I want to. Even when I sit down, like I move my leg, move my head a lot. Like feeling restless. Just everything focused on that is like super difficult. So you feel like you have to do something because I don't know. For me, I feel like ADHD people are so much better when it's chaotic because they can focus in on one thing. But if there's only one thing going on, it's very hard to focus on that one thing because it's the only thing that's there. It's like we're a character in a game and then we have a controller and then everything works except for the do button because like we can see what's in front of us, like we know what to do, but you can't press A.
Yeah, I almost failed to graduate because I was not doing any schoolwork. I was focusing on my passions so much. I didn't do my schoolwork for like a whole year. All of my projects, quizzes, exams that I didn't do finished in 2 months, including 3 researches. How I got to do that is actually very funny. I would be doing the schoolwork when my parents are around, and then when they're not looking, I would open the other file in which I'm writing.
Let's say I'm working on my car and I forget what I am doing. Like I turn around to read something, I turn back and I forgot what I'm doing. I am spending however long it takes doing random stuff on my car until the thought process, oh hey, this, and then I can jump back into it.
I'm in an environment right now where I don't feel as pressured to like be super fast. Even if it takes me a long time, I end up actually finishing the thing that I set out to do. The thing with ADHD, you can get the task done. It just takes you, would it be like a 1 hour task for most people turns into like a 5-hour task for me because of distractions and lack of motivation and side quests.
You ever have like that really annoying person? Somebody's constantly talking in your ear, bringing up random points that are very loosely connected. It's that constantly. So if you break focus from whatever you're doing for even a second, you get sent down a rabbit hole. If you do manage just to keep focusing, it's so much self-control that you're constantly exhausted. Irritating, I guess, but for the most part, it's just since then been a lot of just self-control to push past it. No, absolutely not. This is just suffering.
It's the passion that I have for things. There's so many things I'm interested in. It's not gonna stop me from doing the things that I like to do.
Positive qualities, positive qualities, positive qualities.
You don't think like other people. You fundamentally have a different way that you see and understand the world, and that can vary from person to person. But I know for me that like usually my mindset is the opposite of other people's, and I'm not really stuck to a box, which allows me to be more creative and tends to help a lot with like problem solving, like puzzles and stuff.
It's very easy to see things that people don't see. Like my brain just takes pictures without me noticing. For example, I have a batchmate who I just found out recently broke up with someone. I literally remember predicting that because a friend brought it up. It was like in a shelf in my head and it was like reactivated. It's so much easier to think forward because you're constantly like taking in everything as a default. Definitely the ability to like think ahead faster.
I don't know. The only like positive thing I can think of is like I can like think of everything that would cause that pretty much instantly. I can run through all the scenarios in my head pretty quickly to problem solve it. That's if I can focus enough to stay on it. Everything. This sucks, dude.
I know a lot of people can see this as a positive, but I think a negative for me is I'm very honest. I've never gotten much good out of it. If a friend asks me opinion on something, I will be blunt about it. A friend of mine would even tell me like, you could have said it in a nicer way, but I'm like, this is the nice way. It's just, I'm straightforward. So like if I see something, I will say it.
So if I'm having a conversation with somebody, a lot of people will say that like I'm either dismissive or unengaged, but a majority of the time it is just me fully focusing on the conversation. And when it becomes my turn to either reply or answer, it's just really short, straight answers. Just because if I think about it too long or start talking too long, I do just get fully distracted and talk about random things.
It looks like a lazy person and it looks like an irresponsible person. That's kind of the vibes that I get. I feel like people outside could possibly see us as people who don't really care that much. That's kind of the opposite.
Growing up, I was called lazy. Some of my behavior was like disrupting, even though I was kind of just vibing. People have misinterpreted me elaborating on like what I think is important as like arguing when I was just giving more context to a situation, which apparently people don't like when you do and they think it's rude, and it's like really confusing and I don't understand. There was the not so nice side and then there was the cool side where like I got really into art and I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing until I'm where I am now. It's hard to remember things sometimes, most of the time. What most people might interpret as thoughtlessness, like maybe forgetting a birthday or forgetting their favorite food, how my brain interprets social interactions can kind of be seen as rude or thoughtless to other people. With parents and just people in general, you'll have that argument of like, oh well, you remembered to do this thing that you wanted to do, but you can't remember the thing that I asked you to do. And that kind of falls apart for ADHD people because it's a gamble if we even remember our own stuff. All we're thinking about is like, geez, it's such a nice day today. Wonder how that guy's doing.
Dealing with grief is definitely something that's difficult, especially if it's like, it's gonna happen. You come to a point where like the emotions are like way too much. Like when life is good, my brain can think of like a million good thoughts, but when things go bad, it can do the exact opposite. I remember when my mom passed away. I remember like not wanting to go to the hospital where she was admitted. And I remember my brother getting really mad. I mean, he was probably thinking like, why the hell is this dude not wanting to go see our mom? And I was just like, I just didn't want to think about it because it just felt way too much.
I think, the problem solving, being able to think of a bunch of stuff quickly is all right. I can think of everything that would cause it, but it's not like all at once. So it's really nice to be able to go through and grab everything, but unless I'm like actually just dead stop focus on that thought, it's gone.
It's very funny because like friends would ask me, oh, what are you interested about? What are your passions? And then I would say, well, I really like writing, singing, acting. I like cosplay. I like a lot of things. I have this hyperfixation that it's like an addiction, I guess. Before in high school, it was horror stories. I cannot sleep without reading one new thing.
You feel like people don't trust your disorder whenever, you're asked to do something and then you don't do it. People are going to be like, oh, you're just making excuses. It feels different. It feels different to being lazy because I remember just before I fully understood what I was going through, I always thought I was just lazy. Then I figured out like I really have a disadvantage at being focused because my frontal lobe and another part of my brain is just like behind in development. It gets very hard to explain to people and you feel like you don't want to explain because they're gonna call it an excuse, even though it's just an explanation and it's not something that I control or people like me control. Something that I feel like is good that I realized, and things can feel very fast. There are still times when it can feel like you are taking your time in life. I guess the best thing is when you want to focus on something and then you like hyper focus. And it usually happens at like 12 a.m. You start at like 8 p.m. and you want to be done by 10, but now it's 12 because you're just watching YouTube on the side. And then suddenly, like, you finish what you wanted to do because everything felt at one.
Before, I have constantly like been masking. People already would like think I'm very weird or feel a certain type of way whenever I act naturally. And I tried to fit in by like masking all the time. But by the time I was in high school, I just stopped because I thought, well, people are not gonna like me anyway. Might as well stop trying to waste energy making them dislike me less.
Because we do care. It's just like you need to tell us what you want. We can't always read in between the lines. We need you to spell it out for us. And you could argue, well, then you're an adult. Why do you need to be told what to do? Because I can't read your mind. People assume that you're going to be the same as them, and you're going to be as in tune with relationships and how to navigate them as they are. But some people just need you to tell them what to do. And I don't really see what's wrong with that. Like, if I don't know where something is, well, where do you think it is? It's like that doesn't help the ADHD person because we're just like, I don't know. I'm asking you for a reason because I don't know. It just helps when people just tell you what they expect and want from you.
General things that I have accepted about myself that I acknowledge isn't something that a lot of people normally do. I just say, oh, it's just my brain being it.
I don't know. My mom would always be like, ADHD isn't an excuse, and I was like, yeah, I'm aware. So I always felt weird when I tried to bring it up to people or when I mentioned it. So to finally actually have someone be like, nah, her brain's just quirky was nice. Since then, it's made me more confident and made me feel less like I guess like I was lying.
I think it shaped how I see myself more than how others did because I don't really. I mean, to be honest, recently is probably the only time that I talked about it. I never really talked about it back in high school or grade school or even like senior high because I didn't really think it was that big of a deal because I just thought like I really just thought I was lazy. I think the great thing about having it diagnosed pretty early was kind of like I don't have much questions about why things are happening. The only questions I have are like how can I be better with it?
People are very like social creatures just by nature. From me doing stuff personally, it's hasn't shaped me. I would like to think that if I didn't have ADHD, everything would still be roughly the same, just without the thought process. But how others see me, like, and engaging publicly or socially, I mean, it definitely affects there.
I kind of believed that I wasn't good enough and that I was stupid because again, no one ever really believed in me. And now I have like people that do believe in me in an environment where I'm allowed to fuck up and I'm allowed to make my own rules and my own destinations. And I feel a lot more successful and happy because I'm on my schedule. I'm not on other people's schedule. I don't know if infantilized is the right word, but it feels like I was babied a lot, especially living with my mom. I don't really think she ever believed that I could do anything on my own. And because she didn't believe in me, I didn't either. But now that I've like finally moved out, I'm doing things that I never thought I would be able to do or accomplish before. If you give someone with ADHD the chance to do things, to figure stuff out on their own, to do things in their own time, they usually will do it. People like me can really impress you. I know that I've impressed myself and surprised myself a couple times.